I'm sorry, I just can't let this go. It is so insightful, and I don't think that we will ever get a chance again to look at the same artist drawing one of the most ugly characters that I have seen, and then the same artist showing, no, look, I can draw. Like, you guys, I was just pretending. I worked at Naughty Dog. I worked at a Western company for too long, and I thought that this is what the market was. But now that I'm actually shown that I'm allowed to draw pretty women, I will. And I feel like this summarizes the entire year. Like, this genuinely shows the entire conversation that was taking place in 2024. You have Western characters creating abomination after abomination after abomination, filled with skin disease, cellulitis, gender androgyny, all of this ugly chess cars, wheelchairs, right? And it's not like one character. It's a fucking assembly line. It's like, no, this is the beauty, motherfucker. Either you buy it or you're a bigot. This represents us, the developers, and it represents our ideology. So if you say it's ugly, you're insulting us, because we see ourselves when you look at these characters. I was almost about to say creatures. And so when someone came up and said, dude, what the fuck is wrong with you? Why are you making characters so fucking ugly? They would respond almost like Pavlov's dog. Almost like in a reflex. It's like, oh, Gunnar, you just want to masturbate. You want to milk it. They would drive the conversation to a sexual place with a very unreasonable, emotional response almost. Like they generally got triggered of it. They unironically would get livid. Like there are accounts that are fuming, they're coping and seething over the fact that people do not like the Western game characters. They don't like the Concord shit. And so when you see an artist that takes a female character and they themselves go like, okay, well, maybe you're right. Here. And you're like, that's it? That's all it took? Yeah. Yeah, no, see, that's it. Yeah, that's what the market wanted. That's it. Yeah. And this makes all the people that were calling us Gunnars look incredibly unhinged. I mean, of course, people like to look at the female's ass if they happen to be straight, right? Like, if you're not straight, that's fine. But, like, any straight man has the male gaze. Every straight man has, like, a level of simping that's ingrained into them that women and other people who aren't men just can't understand it. Like, it's called evolution. It's normal when you see a pretty woman to just, like, turn your head, right? So, like, when you see a stellar blade, when you see a Nier, when you see something that, arouses but is not pornography. Not everything that arouses is pornography, by the way, right? So when you see a stellar blade and you see a Bayonetta or you see a 2B, yeah, okay, people like it. It doesn't have to be that way, though. Like, not every game needs to have a 2B. But at the same time, it is very much preferred if the the main character isn't a woman that looks like a man in a wig. And isn't morbidly obese. And isn't a woman that's always angry looking and stoic faced and trying to ooze with toxic masculinity. Because that's literally the only thing that Western devs are capable of creating now. And this is where the conversation is at. And this is just like what little change was required to make something from like, ew, brother, ew, what is that? Ew. Into something that's like, yeah, no, I mean, this is what the woman looks like. Yeah, sure. Oh. Could have bigger tits, but like, oh, okay. The Western aesthetics have moved so far away from Mass Effect 3, from Dragon Age 1 and 2, from the games that actually saw, because like the aesthetics are important, not just because it's visually pleasing, and studies show that men have euphoria. Like, it's not just arousal, it's euphoria when they're looking at the female form. But it also sells toys, it sells t-shirts, it sells caps, it sells like all these other merchandise. And so like all these Western developers, they're making these butt-ugly characters that no one wants to play, and then they can't sell the merchandise. So they have to do all of these other tactics that are not very consumer-friendly. You gotta spend like, well, $120 now for a game just to play like 3 days early beta? Even the Chinese people don't do that shit. No one like wants to do that shit. Like, what the fuck are you on about? Seriously, like, did you notice like the AAA studios pulling that crap? Oh, you want to play Diablo 4 3 days early, $120? Why can't you make some attractive characters and then sell some shit? Do you guys remember that Frostmourne sword? Was a Frostmourne sword replica during the peak of Wrath of the Lich King. How much was that? It was like $2,000, right? But it was like $2,000 back then. It's probably like $6,000 now, adjusted for inflation. And if you happen to have it, it's a collector edition now. It probably goes way higher. It's probably like $20,000 or so shit. And they actually made games that are fun, so they didn't have to pull all that stuff. They would just be like, okay, well, we're going to sell merchandise, and we're going to make money off of that. Oh, we're World of Warcraft. We're just going to make a deal with the trading card game, and we're going to let them use our characters, and maybe through our grace, we will allow them to put a code in the game. So, like, the people who played the trading card game, they put the code in World of Warcraft, and now they're able to get a mount or some shit. And that's how they made money. And you know what? It was an honest dollar. But now, if they keep making the character, and they constantly justify making these awful, absolutely hideous characters that even the woke don't want to buy. Even fucking Reddit doesn't want to buy these characters. And so, they can't sell merchandise, but who wants to buy a t-shirt with Abby? Who wants to buy a t-shirt with Conqueror? And the level of copium is what sickens me. They're like, oh no, this character is fine. It's like, no, it fucking isn't. The artist itself said that it's not fine. Oh, this character doesn't look like a man. The artist himself came out and said, no, actually, the face of this character, yeah, I could have done something better. Oh, it was drawn too fast. It's a AAA artist. Come on. He does this for a living. It's not like some random guy on Tumblr. And this, in my opinion, is peak 2024. Like this artist drawing the Naughty Dog version, and then drawing what he actually can draw. And it goes to show that these artists can actually draw something pretty, but they're fucking constantly told not to. And the people who tell them not to are the ones that should get fired. Because if they don't, the studio fails. And if the studio fails, more people get fired. So I do hope that the studios realize that whoever is in charge of these artists and constantly tells them how to draw, that some accountability finally gets pushed their way.